man who feels like the world has left him behind. He works as a mechanic in a small repair shop on the edge of a quiet colony. Most buildings in that area look old, and the roads are always covered with dust carried by the wind. His workshop is made of metal sheets that creak whenever the weather changes, and the only sound inside is usually the light buzzing of tools or the hum of old engines. He spends most of his time sitting on a small stool, fixing machines that people barely care about anymore. Old hover bikes, broken farm bots, worn-out generators, these are the things he works on every day. People in the colony know him, but only in a distant way. They might nod at him when they pass by, maybe say a quick greeting, but they never stay to talk. And he never tries to continue a conversation. He keeps his words short, his tone flat, and his face calm in a way that makes others feel like maybe he prefers to be left alone. In truth, he stopped caring about most things a long time ago. Something happened in his past that changed him, something heavy enough to make him pull away from everyone. He never talks about it, and nobody asks anymore. Life just kept moving around him while he stayed in the same place each morning. He wakes up before the sun rises. He makes a cup of tea, sits by his small window, and watches the sky slowly turn bright. He does this every day, not because he enjoys it, but because it has become a habit, something he does without thinking. Then he goes to the workshop, opens the gate, and waits for customers that rarely come early. By evening, he locks up, walks back to his small living space beside the shop, eats something simple, and lies down without much thought. Day after day, nothing changes. Nothing excites him. Nothing scares him. Nothing motivates him. It is as if he put his life on pause years ago and never pressed the button again. Sometimes people from the colony talk about him when they think he can't hear. They say he is a good mechanic, but too quiet. They say he should talk more, meet people, get out of his dull routine. Some even say he looks lonely, but he doesn't see himself that way. He doesn't think about loneliness or happiness or sadness anymore. He just moves through the days, the same way machines move through cycles, steady, predictable, and empty. But one evening, something different happens. It starts with a storm. The sky becomes dark before sunset, and heavy wind blows across the colony. He steps outside to lock the workshop door, and dust hits his face. The clouds gather so quickly that even he pauses for a moment. He knows storms come often, but this one feels stronger than usual. He can feel it in the air, a heavy pressure that pushes against the skin. By the time he goes inside his room, the wind has already started to shake the metal walls. He sits on his small bed and waits for the storm to pass. Thunder crackles across the sky, and the sound makes the window rattle. Rain starts falling, first lightly, then harder, until it feels like the whole sky is crashing down. Usually, he doesn't mind storms. They are just another part of life. But tonight, as he listens to the wind scream, he hears something else. Something soft. Something he doesn't recognize at first. He thinks it might be the wind making a strange sound. But then it happens again, a faint, trembling cry. High-pitched, weak, almost like a baby's sound, but not exactly. He frowns and stands up. The storm is too loud, yet the cry still reaches him. It doesn't sound like any animal he knows. And no human would be outside in this weather. He grabs a small hand light and steps toward the door. He hesitates before opening it, because the wind pushes against the metal so hard that the entire frame shakes. But the cry comes again, and this time it sounds even weaker, almost like whatever is making it is running out of strength. Despite the cold and the rain, something inside him moves. It's not excitement, but it's also not nothing. It's more like curiosity mixed with concern, even though he tries to deny it. He pulls the door open and steps outside. The rain hits his face immediately, sharp and cold. The light from his hand lamp cuts through the dark, but only barely. He hears the cry again closer now. He follows the sound, walking slowly, letting the light sweep across the ground. The rain sticks to his clothes, and the wind almost pushes him back. But he keeps going. The sound pulls him toward the open field behind the workshop. He moves carefully, because the ground is slippery. The storm flashes bright for a moment, and in that brief second, he sees something small lying near a pile of scrap metal. Something curled up. Something shaking. He lifts his light and steps closer. Got it first. He thinks it might be a damaged drone. Some drones make strange noises when their cores malfunction. But the shape isn't metal. It's soft, alive. The little creature lifts its head slightly, and he sees big, wet eyes filled with fear. Its skin is smooth, almost glowing faintly under the rain. Small wings cling to its sides, trembling. A tail curls around its tiny body, trying to stay warm. For a moment, he just stares. He has never seen anything like it before. It looks like a baby dragon, but smaller, more fragile, and definitely not from any species he knows. He doesn't move closer right away. He doesn't want to scare it. But the creature lets out another cry, a soft, painful sound, and he feels something shift inside him. Something he hasn't felt in a long time, the instinct to help. He crouches slowly, lowering himself so he doesn't look threatening. The creature watches him with wide eyes. Its tiny claws dig into the muddy ground as if trying to hold on. Rain slides down its little face, mixing with its tears. When lightning flashes again, he notices a small pod behind it, half buried in mud, cracked open from an impact. That explains how it got here. The pod must have crashed during the storm, or maybe before it. He reaches out his hand, moving slowly. The creature lets out a weak whine, but it doesn't back away. Instead, it leans forward just a little, like it wants help, but is too scared to trust completely. He places his hand under its small body, feeling how cold and light it is. The moment he lifts it, the creature curls into his chest, as if it has been waiting for someone to protect it. He straightens up, holding the tiny creature close so the wind doesn't hit it. It feels soft and warm, but its body shakes with every breath. He looks down at it, and it looks back with eyes that seem too big for its small head eyes full of fear, confusion, and something else he can't name. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't debate with himself. He just turns and walks back toward the workshop, shielding the creature with his arms. Something about its helplessness touches a part of him he thought was gone forever. When he steps inside the workshop, the storm noise becomes softer, muffled by the metal walls. He closes the door and places the creature on a blanket near a heater. It curls up instantly, still trembling but trying to get warm. He takes a deep breath, unsure of what he has just brought into his life. He has no idea where it came from. No idea what species it is. No idea who might be searching for it. All he knows is that for the first time in years, something unexpected has entered his world, something fragile, something lost, and something that needs him. And without understanding why, he feels a spark inside him. Small but real, something in his paused life has just pressed play again. Continues from the moment he brings the tiny creature inside his workshop. The storm is still loud outside, but the room feels strangely calm now. The small alien dragon hatchling lies curled on the blanket beside the heater, its tiny body still shaking lightly. He stands near it for a moment, unsure what to do next. He has fixed hundreds of machines, solved thousands of mechanical problems, but this is different. This is alive. This is scared. And it is looking at him with eyes that hold more emotion than any living thing has shown him in years. He kneels beside the blanket and gently touches the creature's wing. It flinches for a second, but doesn't pull away. Its skin feels softer than he expected, and warm, almost like it has its own faint glow beneath the surface. He notices small scratches along its side, and the edges of its wings seem bruised. It must have hit the ground hard when that pod crashed. For a long moment, he just watches the creature breathe. Its breaths are shallow and uneven, like it is fighting to stay awake. He slowly removes his soaking jacket and hangs it near the door. His shirt sticks to his skin from the rain, and he can feel the cold settling into his bones. But he doesn't pay much attention to it. His eyes stay fixed on the little dragon. Wondering how such a delicate creature survived a crash like that, he walks to the small storage shelf in the workshop. Most of it holds tools, old parts, and scraps he plans to use someday. But he also keeps a small box of basic medical supplies: bandages, disinfectant, soft cloth, a pair of clean tweezers. Nothing advanced, but something is better than nothing. As he brings the supplies back to the creature, he feels something strange, like a mix of worry and responsibility. He hasn't felt that in a long time. He sits beside the blanket again and opens the small box. The creature lifts its head a little, watching him carefully. Its eyes are large and shining, full of fear but also trust. It makes a soft sound, not exactly a cry this time, more like a tiny question. He speaks softly, though he doesn't know why or whether it understands. He tells it that he's not going to hurt it, that he's just trying to help. The words feel strange coming out of his mouth because he's not used to talking like this anymore. But somehow, the tone feels natural. He uses a warm, damp cloth to clean the scratches on its side. The creature whimpers softly, and he pauses each time, giving it a moment to calm down before continuing. It stays still, even though it must be uncomfortable. When he finishes cleaning the wounds, he tears a soft cloth into small strips and gently wraps them around the bruised wing joints. He doesn't know anything about alien dragon biology, but he can guess that the wings are sensitive. The creature trembles, but doesn't resist. After he finishes, the creature lets out a quiet sound, almost like a sigh, and slowly closes its eyes. Maybe from relief, maybe from exhaustion. He watches it for a moment longer, feeling a warmth in his chest that doesn't come from the heater. It has been so long since he cared about anything like this. He almost forgot what it felt like. He stands up and goes to the small corner where he keeps food. He doesn't know what the creature eats. That becomes a problem quickly. He can't give it anything unsafe. He thinks for a moment and decides to start with the simplest thing: water. He fills a small cup and puts it on the floor near the blanket. The creature sniffles softly and opens its eyes again. It looks at the cup first, then at him, as if trying to understand what he is offering. He lifts the cup gently and tilts it so the creature can drink without getting up. It sticks out a small tongue, almost cat-like, and drinks a little. Not much, but enough to show it understands he's trying to help. That small reaction makes him feel strange again. Like a tiny spark of satisfaction dot, he searches through his small pantry and finds soft fruit pieces. He slices them into very tiny bits and places a few near the creature. At first, it only sniffs them. Then, after a long pause, it takes one piece into its mouth. It chews very slowly, still watching him between bites. Something about that moment, that tiny action, makes him sit back and let out a slow breath. He didn't expect this creature to eat so calmly, especially after what happened to it outside. The storm eventually starts to fade. The thunder grows quieter, the wind slows, and the rain becomes softer. The whole workshop feels warmer now, not just because of the heater, but because the creature's presence fills the room with a gentle life he hasn't felt in years. He knows he can't sleep properly, or the creature is still so weak. So he brings a chair close to the blanket and sits down. He watches the creature fall into deeper sleep, its breathing finally steady. Its small chest rises and falls lightly, the tiny wings shifting sometimes as if it's dreaming. He doesn't know what creatures like this dream about. Maybe flying. Maybe warmth. Maybe family. His eyes drift to the crashed pod he saw outside. It is still lying out there in the mud, cracked open. He wonders how far the creature traveled. Was it alone? Was it supposed to be with someone? Did something go wrong during a journey? He knows the colony often receives visitors from different species, but he has never seen anything like this hatchling before. If someone is searching for it, they must be terrified. A thought hits him. Should he report it? Should he tell the colony authorities? But then he glances at the creature sleeping peacefully beside him, and the thought fades. He tells himself it's not the right time. The creature is too weak, too scared. He needs to help it recover first. Later, he can figure out the rest. Hours pass quietly. The storm stops completely, and the night becomes calm again. The only sound left inside the workshop is the soft hum of the heater. The creature shifts slightly and curls deeper into the blanket. He can't stop looking at it. There's something almost magical about the way it glows faintly, the soft color of its scales, the gentle rise and fall of its breath. He thinks back to how he lived before tonight. The empty routine, the days blending together, the silence he wrapped himself in. For the first time, that silence doesn't feel like a safe place. It feels lonely. It feels cold. It feels like something he no longer wants to return to. He sighs quietly, leaning back in the chair. He doesn't know what tomorrow will look like. He doesn't know what the creature needs. He doesn't know how to take care of it properly. But he knows one thing: he can't leave it alone. He can't pretend he didn't find it. He can't walk away. As the first light of dawn touches the window, the creature wakes up slowly. It lifts its head and looks at him, blinking softly. Its eyes seem brighter now, clearer. It makes a tiny sound, not sad this time, more like a greeting. He smiles without thinking. A small, warm smile he didn't realize he could still make. The creature shifts closer to him on its tiny legs and rests, its head near his hand. He doesn't move away. Instead, he gently touches its head, and it leans into his palm with trust that surprises him. The bond starts there, quiet, gentle, unexpected. A bond he never knew he needed. And as morning light fills the workshop, he understands one thing clearly. His life changed the moment he picked up that trembling little creature in the storm. Calm morning inside the workshop. The storm has passed completely, leaving behind a fresh smell in the air and small puddles outside the windows. The sunlight slips through the thin curtains and falls across the floor, touching the blanket where the little hatchling is resting. The tiny dragon lifts its head slowly, blinking as if it isn't used to the brightness yet. It looks around, then its eyes fall on him sitting nearby. He's been awake for a while, quietly repairing an old hover bike. Even though he tries to focus on the work, his eyes keep drifting back to the hatchling. Every few minutes, he checks if it's breathing well, or if it's comfortable, or if the bandages are still in place. He doesn't understand why he cares so much, but the feeling is real. It's not forced, not something he's trying to pretend. It feels natural, like something inside him has shifted without him noticing. The hatchling gives a small yawn, stretching its tiny legs and fluttering its weak wings. He watches the movement carefully. Yesterday, the creature could barely lift its wings. Today, even though the movement is slight, it gives him a strange hope. He stops working and walks over to it, sitting on the floor beside the blanket. The hatchling notices him and lets out a soft sound, something between a chirp and a hum. It almost sounds happy. He reaches out his hand slowly, and the little creature leans forward without hesitation. Its small head rests against his fingers, warm and gentle. He strokes its scales very lightly, feeling the faint texture beneath his fingertips. It relaxes instantly, as if it trusts him completely now. That trust makes him feel something he thought he had lost a long time ago. A sense of being needed. He stands up and goes to prepare food again. He picks soft fruits and cuts them into tiny pieces. He wonders if it should have something else to eat, but he doesn't know what is safe. For now, he decides to stay with what worked yesterday. When he returns, the hatchling is already watching him expectantly, its tail twitching lightly on the blanket. He places the small pieces of fruit in front of it. The hatchling sniffs them, then eats slowly, carefully, as if it remembers he helped it last night. After eating, the creature tries to stand on its small legs. It wobbles at first, but then takes one tiny step, then two. He watches with a mixture of worry and surprise. The hatchling begins exploring the workshop, moving slowly but with obvious curiosity. It sniffs at toolboxes, touches metal parts with its nose, and even tries to climb onto a low wooden stool. It fails and slips back down, but instead of crying, it lets out an annoyed tiny sound that almost makes him laugh. He never laughs. Not anymore. But something about this little creature makes his chest feel lighter. He finds himself smiling without thinking. Throughout the morning, the hatchling follows him around the workshop. When he walks to one side of the room, it waddles after him, tripping sometimes, but refusing to give up. When he kneels to fix a machine, it sits beside him, watching every movement as if it finds the tools fascinating. If he moves a tool closer, the hatchling leans in, inspecting it with its bright eyes. It tilts its head, trying to understand the strange metal shapes. He speaks to it from time to time, not in long sentences, just small things, telling it to be careful, asking if it's hungry, pointing at things and explaining even though he knows it probably doesn't understand the words. But the tone matters, and the creature seems to enjoy the sound of his voice. It makes him feel like he's not alone anymore. Not completely. Sometime around noon, the hatchling grows tired and curls up on the blanket again. He uses that moment to step outside and check the crashed pod. The ground is still wet, and the pod is half buried in mud. He crouches and examines the surface. The metal looks unfamiliar, unlike any craft he has worked on before. The design is smooth, almost artistic. Not human-made. Maybe not even from any nearby planet he knows. He tries to lift the broken door. It's heavier than it looks, but he manages to pull it enough to see the inside. What he finds surprises him. There are markings on the inner walls. Soft, glowing patterns like symbols or writing. He doesn't recognize the language. It looks too elegant, too fluid. He takes a picture with his old handheld device, hoping to figure it out later. He also finds something else, a faint warmth near the center of the pod. He touches it lightly. The warmth feels alive somehow, like leftover energy. But it fades quickly when he moves his hand away. He stands up and looks around the fields behind the workshop. If this pod crashed here, something must have gone wrong during its journey. Was it meant to land somewhere else? Was it sent here on purpose? Or was it an accident? The thought of the hatchling being alone in that pod makes his chest tight. It must have been terrified. It must have cried for a long time before he heard it. He goes back inside, and the moment he enters, the hatchling lifts its head. It makes a sound that clearly means it's happy to see him return. He sits beside it and gently checks the bandages again. The creature nuzzles against his wrist and curls around his arm, refusing to let go. He lets it stay there. He doesn't mind. Later in the afternoon, he decides to repair a small machine brought in earlier in the week. He sits down with his tools, and the hatchling comes again to watch. This time, it climbs onto the table and sits close, its tail wrapped around its tiny body. He starts working on the machine, and the creature watches every move as if it's trying to learn. At one point, the hatchling gently taps a bolt with its tiny claw, pushing it toward him. He freezes for a second, surprised. It did that on purpose. Almost like it understood he needed the bolt next. He picks it up and says thank you softly. The hatchling puffs a small, warm breath, proud of itself. That moment stays in his mind longer than he expects Dot as evening approaches. He warms the room again because the temperature drops outside. The hatchling follows him everywhere, never going more than a few steps away. When he sits on the couch for a moment, the creature climbs into his lap and settles there, curling up like a small pet seeking comfort. He hesitates at first, not used to this kind of closeness. But then he lets it happen, gently placing his hand on its back. The creature falls asleep like that, breathing softly. He stays very still, not wanting to disturb it. The sun sets slowly, and the workshop grows darker, except for the soft yellow light from the corner lamp. He doesn't work anymore. He just sits there with the sleeping hatchling on his lap, listening to its tiny breaths. He notices how peaceful it looks now compared to the night before when it trembled in fear. A strange feeling grows in him, something warm, something protective. He never planned for this. He never asked for it. But now that the creature is here, he can't imagine leaving it alone, Dot, as night settles in completely. He gently lifts the hatchling and places it back on the blanket. It stirs a little, but doesn't wake fully. He stays there, watching it, until he feels his eyes getting heavy too. He pulls a small cushion and lies on the floor beside the blanket. Not because he has no bed, but because he wants to stay close. Just in case the creature wakes up scared again. The room is quiet now, calm, peaceful in a way he hasn't felt in years. Before sleep takes him, he glances at the hatchling one more time. Its small body glows faintly under the lamp, and its wings twitch softly as if it's dreaming. He whispers something he hasn't said to anyone in years, not loudly. Just a quiet promise he isn't even sure the creature can hear. I'll take care of you. The hatchling moves its tail slightly, as if answering, and in that silent, gentle moment, he realizes something he didn't want to admit. He already cares more than he expected, more than he thought he could anymore. And this tiny creature is slowly bringing him back to life without even trying. On a quiet evening, a few days after the hatchling started exploring the workshop like it owned the place. By now, the little creature walks with more confidence. Its wings are still weak, but they twitch with more energy, as if it's slowly preparing to use them again someday. The mechanic keeps checking the bandages each morning and evening, changing them carefully. Every time he does that, the creature stays still, looking at him with calm eyes, showing complete trust. He never expected his days to change like this. A week ago, his workshop felt empty, with nothing but the sound of tools and metal. Now there is movement, tiny footsteps, soft chirping, and the warm feeling of not being alone. The hatchling follows him everywhere, even when he tries to sweep the floor. Sometimes it jumps into the small pile of dust, just to make him laugh. He pretends to scold it, but he ends up smiling anyway. That evening, the sky turns into a deep shade of orange as the sun begins to set behind the hills. The mechanic steps outside to bring in a new delivery of parts left near the gate. The air is cool, and the ground is still soft from past rain. The hatchling waddles behind him, sniffing the breeze with curiosity and looking up at birds flying overhead. It lets out a tiny, excited squeak, as if wishing it could fly too. He glances down and says softly that someday it will, but right now it still needs rest. As he is lifting one of the boxes, something catches his attention. A faint vibration under his feet. He stops, placing the box aside. The hatchling stops too, sensing the shift in his mood. The ground vibrates again, very lightly, but enough to make him look around. He listens closely. The vibration grows stronger, then disappears, then returns in a slow pattern. Not natural, not wind, Not thunder. Something is approaching. The hatchling presses itself against his leg, its tiny claws gripping his pants. Its eyes become slightly brighter, but not in a happy way. More like fear. He gently rests his hand on its head to calm it down. A low rumbling sound echoes across the sky. Not loud, but deep, smooth, and controlled like an engine from a ship that doesn't belong to humans. He looks up, searching the sky. At first he sees nothing, but then a shape appears, almost blending with the clouds. A large vessel, moving silently, except for the soft humming vibration it leaves behind. Its design is unlike anything he has seen on the colony. Elegant, smooth, almost wing-shaped, the hatchling hides behind his leg. Trembling, he realizes immediately someone is looking for the creature. His breath catches in his chest. He knew this moment would come eventually, but he didn't expect it so soon. He glances down at the hatchling, which presses even closer. It senses something familiar in the air, something connected to where it came from. But the fear in its eyes shows it's still unsure. Maybe it remembers the crash. Maybe it remembers the pain. The ship lowers slowly toward the open field behind the workshop. Dust swirls around as it descends, but the landing is controlled and gentle. No alarms, no loud sounds. Just a smooth motion, like the ship is made for quiet landings. The mechanic stands still, unsure if he should stay or run inside. The hatchling whispers a soft, frightened note. The ship finally touches the ground. A moment of stillness follows. Then a hatch on the side opens with a calm, glowing line of light. 3 figures step out. Their bodies are tall, slender, and dragon-like, though larger and clearly adults. Their scales reflect the fading sunlight in shimmering colors. Their wings, even folded, look powerful and majestic. Each of them carries a small device in their hands, glowing faintly. The mechanic feels the hatchling cling tightly to him. He puts a hand on it without looking away from the newcomers. His heart beats faster than it has in a long time. The 3 alien beings approach slowly. They move with purpose, but without aggression. Their eyes scan the area until they spot him, and then the hatchling half hidden behind his leg. The moment they see the tiny creature, their expressions shift. A mix of relief and urgency replaces their serious look. One of them steps forward. The being's voice is soft, melodic, not threatening. The language is unfamiliar, but somehow carries emotion clearly. The mechanic doesn't understand the words, but he understands the meaning. They are asking about the hatchling. He kneels slowly and lifts the little dragon in his arms. It trembles, but it doesn't try to run. Its eyes stay fixed on the 3 newcomers, wide and unsure. He whispers quietly, telling it that it's okay, that he's here. The 3 aliens exchange looks. One steps closer and extends a hand, making a gentle sound meant to soothe the hatchling. But instead of leaning toward them, the little creature buries its head into the mechanic's chest. Clinging like it refuses to let go, the aliens freeze. Clearly surprised, they begin speaking among themselves in their musical language. The mechanic can't understand the words, but he can read their body language. They didn't expect this. They didn't expect the hatchling to attach itself to a human. Something about the way they tilt their heads, the way they watch him, holds a kind of awed confusion. Finally, one of the aliens taps a device on their wrist. It projects a faint, holographic symbol in the air. The mechanic recognizes the pattern. It matches the markings inside the crashed pod. The alien points to the symbol, then to the hatchling, then gestures toward their ship. The meaning is clear. They want to take it home. The hatchling lets out a sharp, unhappy sound, gripping his shirt tightly. He swallows hard. His throat feels tight. He knew the creature didn't belong here. He knew someone must be searching desperately. But now that the moment is here, it feels heavier than he expected. The thought of the hatchling leaving makes his chest ache in a way he can't explain. One of the aliens steps closer and carefully observes the bandaged wings. They let out a soft sound, something like gratitude. They bow their heads slightly toward him, a gesture that feels respectful. He understands, they know he saved it. But the moment the alien tries to take the hatchling gently, the creature cries out and curls away, refusing to be separated. It hides behind him again, pressing into his torso so tightly he can feel its heartbeat racing. The aliens stop instantly. Surprised and unsure what to do next, the mechanic kneels beside the creature and places a hand on its back. He whispers softly, trying to calm it. He doesn't know what the right choice is. Keeping it here feels wrong, because this isn't its world. But letting it go when it is terrified feels wrong too. He looks at the aliens. They are watching him differently now. Not with suspicion, not with urgency, but with a quiet understanding. The one in front points at the hatchling, then at him, then brings a hand to their own chest. A symbolic gesture one he slowly interprets. They can see the bond. They know the hatchling chose him, and that changes everything. The alien makes another gesture toward the ship, then to him, as if offering something. The mechanic doesn't understand at first, but then it becomes clear they are inviting him to come with them. Not as a prisoner, not as someone who stole their young, but as someone the hatchling trusts. He steps back slightly, shocked. Leave the colony? Leave the workshop? Leave the life he's known for so long? The idea feels impossible. He shakes his head gently, trying to show he doesn't belong on a ship like theirs. But the hatchling climbs into his arms again, nuzzling against him with a soft sound. The aliens watch the interaction with deep seriousness. They repeat the gesture, pointing to the ship again, then to the hatchling, then to him. They aren't taking the hatchling away from him. They want him to stay with it. His heart feels heavier than ever. He looks around at the workshop, the place he lived in for so long, the place that once felt safe, but had slowly turned into a quiet prison after years of loneliness. Now, with the hatchling pressed against him, he feels a different kind of pull inside. A feeling of purpose. A feeling of belonging. A feeling he thought he was no longer capable of. He realizes the truth. Without this little creature, he would have continued living the same empty days forever. But now, for the first time in years, his life has meaning again. He takes a slow breath. The hatchling looks up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. He places his hand on its head gently. Then he turns to the aliens, and he nods. The aliens react with calm gratitude. One steps forward and touches the hatchling lightly, whispering something gentle in their language. The creature stops trembling and looks at them differently, now still wary, but no longer terrified. As if it understands that they accept the bond, the aliens guide him toward the ship. He hesitates for a final moment, turning back to look at the workshop. The place feels strangely small now, quiet, too empty for the life he has begun to feel again. The hatchling shifts in his arms, giving a soft, warm sound like encouraging him. He takes the first step forward. And with that step, his life changes in a way he never imagined. He didn't sleep much the night before. His mind kept replaying everything that had happened over the last few days. The Guardian's sudden arrival, their misunderstanding, the way the hatchling cried and crawled toward him for protection. And the moment the Guardians realized the truth, every second felt like it was still happening. Even now, standing in the morning light of his workshop, he kept glancing toward the small sleeping creature curled in a warm blanket on his workbench. The hatchling looked, peaceful soft breaths rising and falling, wings tucked close, tail loosely wrapped around itself. It was hard to believe that just a short time ago, this same creature had been trembling in fear inside a crashed pod. Now it slept like it trusted him completely. That trust made his chest feel tight in a way he hadn't experienced in years. He quietly worked around the shop, pretending to clean tools that didn't need cleaning. The truth was, he felt restless. He knew the guardians would return in the morning to discuss what came next. He knew the hatchling belonged with them. He also knew he had no right to keep it, but a small part of him didn't want to let go. He felt selfish even thinking it, yet he couldn't help it. He had built a careful, quiet life after losing everything, a life where he expected nothing and asked for nothing. Then this tiny creature crashed into his world and somehow filled it with warmth again. The old him, the one who still cared, still hoped, had started waking up. And now he felt afraid of losing that feeling again. When the door of the workshop slid open, he straightened quickly. The guardian team entered, stepping carefully so they wouldn't startle the hatchling. Their tall, scaled forms looked almost majestic in the sunlight, each one carrying symbols carved across their armor. Their presence still made him tense, but not the same way as before. Today, he sensed no hostility, only calm and purpose. The lead guardian approached him with a respectful nod. "We thank you again for what you have done," the guardian said in a deep, steady voice. "Our young one is safe because of you." He didn't know what to say. Compliments always made him uncomfortable. He scratched the back of his head and muttered, "Anyone would have done the same." The guardian shook their head. "No, not anyone. Many would have fear. Many would walk away. You did not." He didn't respond. He didn't know how the hatchling stirred at the sound of their voices, letting out a soft chirp. It blinked sleepily, then looked directly at him. Without hesitation, it crawled across the bench and stretched its neck toward him, nudging his hand like it always did. He gently stroked its head, feeling the warm, familiar weight leaning into his touch. The guardians exchanged quiet looks. They had seen this bond form the moment they arrived, but now it was even stronger. The lead guardian stepped closer. "There is something important we wish to tell you," the guardian said. "In our culture, when a hatchling chooses someone, when it trusts them more than fear, more than instinct, it forms what our people call a life guide bond. It is rare, especially with another species." He froze. The hatchling's small claws curled gently around his wrist, as if holding on. The guardian continued, speaking with a soft tone he hadn't heard earlier. "This young one has chosen you, not because you rescued it, because you gave it safety, and something more." He swallowed. "But that doesn't mean it should stay with me. You're its people. You can take care of it better than I can." The lead guardian studied him carefully. "Is that truly what you want?" He hesitated. Was it what he wanted? His mind raced. He imagined the hatchling flying off with its guardians, leaving his workshop silent again. He imagined going back to his old habits, working alone, eating alone, sleeping in silence. He imagined waking up the next morning with no chirping, no tiny footsteps following him around, no bright eyes watching him while he repaired machines. He imagined the emptiness returning. He looked down at the hatchling, still clinging to him like he was the only familiar thing in the world. The creature gazed back with wide, trusting eyes. For a long moment, he didn't speak. He just breathed, feeling the gentle heartbeat of the small creature leaning against his hand. "I want it to be safe," he finally said. "That's all." The guardian nodded. "It will be safe, but the bond cannot be dismissed. Forcing separation would cause distress to the young one, and perhaps to you." He looked away. The guardian wasn't wrong. "What are you saying?" he asked quietly. The lead guardian straightened with a calm certainty. "We do not wish to separate you. Instead, we offer another path. Join us. Travel with us. Learn alongside our people. Continue to guide the young one as it grows." He stared at them, stunned. "Join you? As what?" "As yourself," the guardian said simply. "You already understand machines. Our fleet values such skill. But more importantly, the hatchling does not want to leave you behind, and we do not wish to break a chosen bond. He felt the room tilt slightly. He had never expected anything like this. Leave the colony? Leave the small life he had built? Leave his workshop, his tools, the quiet routine he had clung to for so long? He looked around. The workshop suddenly felt smaller than before. The tools felt heavier. The room felt like it belonged to someone who no longer existed. A man who had given up on everything. A man who never expected anything good to come his way again. Was that still him? Maybe not. The hatchling chirped again, tugging lightly at his sleeve as if asking him what was wrong. He lifted it gently in both hands and held it against his chest. It immediately nuzzled into him, tiny wings fluttering. He closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt not trapped, not useless, not forgotten. He felt important. He felt chosen. When he opened his eyes, he finally answered. What would it mean if I say yes? The guardian smiled a warm, sincere expression. It means you would not walk alone anymore. It means the young one would have you by its side as it grows. And it means your skills would help many lives, not just machines. He breathed slowly, letting the idea settle inside him. It didn't feel frightening. It felt right. It felt like a door opening after years of living in darkness. He nodded. All right, I'll go. The hatchling squeaked loudly, wings spreading with excitement. The guardians raised their heads in approval, giving him respectful bows he didn't feel worthy of. They helped him pack only what he needed: tools, a few personal items, and the repaired pod components he had worked on. The rest of the workshop remained as it was. He felt a small ache leaving it behind, but another part of him felt relieved too. The place had served its purpose. It had sheltered him when he wanted to hide from the world. But he wasn't hiding anymore. Not when they walked toward the landing site. The morning sun warmed the ground. The hatchling perched on his shoulder, chirping happily at every sound. The guardians walked beside him, no longer strangers but something closer to companions. A large transport ship waited near the hill, its silver surface shining in the light. When its doors opened, a soft breeze rolled out, carrying the scent of a world he had never seen. It felt like an invitation. He stepped inside slowly, heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. The guardians followed, and the hatchling hopped into his arms again, as if making sure he wasn't changing his mind. He smiled softly and whispered, "Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere." As the doors closed behind him and the ship lifted gently from the ground, he looked out through the viewing panel one last time. The colony grew smaller, the workshop just a tiny shape among the structures. Instead of sadness, he felt a strange calm. He wasn't losing anything. He was gaining a future he never imagined he would have. And as the ship rose, higher into the sky, the hatchling tucked itself under his chin, warm and safe. He rested a hand on its back, feeling its heartbeat sync with his. For the first time in a very long time, he felt a live dot, and that was enough.